second chance hiring and criminal justice reform is good for small businesses, especially for justice impacted folks that are coming back to their communities, looking for a job, looking for that secure employment when they come back to really make a difference in their communities. So really excited to be here with you all.
I don't know if I can go behind her. My name is Robert Stewart, and many of you, I see many familiar faces in the community. I can't call your name.
And no matter where you're for the employers to make, because your mentors, bosses, different.
I made a good decision. Now, the reason why I made a good decision, one employer, I have hired individual. She wasn't taking anything for
in economic mobility.
She wasn't taking anything for granted. She know what it felt like to not be able to do it. And that is seen within the employment realms with individuals who have criminal backgrounds. They tend to be a lot more dependable. That's been my experience.
Give it to Rachel. So Daniel, you made a great point earlier about policy. So I want to bring policy reform into the conversation. With that being said, Rachel, the small business majority recently conducted a survey among Georgia's small businesses owners and found that there was a lot of support for justice reform measures. Can you tell us a little bit about those key findings?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually very excited about this poll. I think this was like in our previous notes. I don't know if you're going to hit on this later, but who in here has heard Georgia's the #1 for business? Has anybody heard that? I see some hands. So we're actually the 37th in economic mobility. Just want to give that fun fact out. That was research done by the Annie E. Casey Foundation, if you want to cite me. But we did a survey this year in 2023, really trying to understand what do small businesses feel about criminal justice reform and second chance hiring, because we know there's a lot of misinformation. We know there's a lot of stigma. And as we all have been talking about on this panel, there's current workforce shortages. So our recent survey, just some highlights here, revealed that 54% of small businesses in Georgia are having difficulty finding quality candidates. Nearly half of that say that candidates are also expecting higher pay. Recent research reports that there are approximately 11 million open jobs in Georgia right now. So when we think about the impact and change in the law that there would be on the ability to hire qualified individuals, 85% of small businesses in Georgia support reforms that would allow people with old convictions fairer access to occupational licenses. In addition, more than 7 in 10 respondents support proposals to end debt-based driver license suspensions for unpaid fines and fees, which we know is a problem within itself. Small businesses are still trying to navigate the supply chain and workforce shortages. So hiring justice impacted people to help mitigate these problems only makes sense. Though often overlooked to persistent stigma, second chance hiring opens an enormous untapped talent pool for small employers. Small business owners within our network, as I mentioned, 2/3 women, 2/3 people of color, have shared their own personal and positive experiences with second chance hiring. And they often corroborate that justice impacted individuals have contributed positively to the work environment and notably lower turnover rates. So those are some highlights from our polling. As I mentioned, we are doing some advocacy at the state capitol, sharing these numbers with policymakers and state leaders to really shift the narrative about what this means for the small business community and folks that have been justice impacted looking for work.
Thank you, Rachel. And you can pass the mic to Natasha. This next question is for her. Why is it important for organizations like the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce to decide to support policy change?
So 23.
And things to employers, right? It's productivity and tenure. Like those are the most important things for employers. Well, Northwestern University, folks, this is someone I'm going to trust and believe. And one thing I even like to say about this is that includes, everybody in that study had a criminal background. They didn't get to know the individuals in that study, right? So if you take that study, very positive news, then you even drill down to your employer and say, okay, this candidate while they were incarcerated, they got this certification, they got this certification, they got this degree. Since they've been out, they were part of this organization, this organization, this organization. And then these three people, you know, have worked with them for the last 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. Well, then that number goes way, way up. And so, you know, for anyone who is doing advocacy work, definitely check out that Northwestern study. I can share with Michael. I don't know how to get it to everybody, but I share that all the time.
I would say job retention, quality of the job, and also coming from a different perspective. As you know, we're a small business organization. Entrepreneurship is a pathway to economic mobility. So not even trying to get hired, but even starting your own business, there are barriers to that. For example, 1 in 7 jobs in Georgia require an occupational license. There are currently barriers to getting an occupational license as someone who's been justice impacted. If you want to be a cosmetologist or start your own barbershop, you go through this training and you don't recognize that you don't even qualify to get the license until after you've done the training. So there are already barriers in place to even becoming an entrepreneur that need to be addressed. And then in regards to smaller employers looking for quality talent, we hear all of the time in our network, you know, and this is no offense to bigger corporations, but, you know, X corporation, Amazon or whoever, opened down the road and I'm losing employees because they're paying X amount and they offer health insurance. Or they're paying X amount and they have paid time off. A lot of the business owners in our network, like I said, are micro enterprises, less than 10 employees, solo entrepreneurs, or they'll contract out their work. So really making sure we meet people where they're at when it comes to folks that are reentering society, and making it easier for folks to really pursue that entrepreneurship route and reinvest. You know, if someone comes out of the system and starts their own business, what if they were more likely to hire people that were also coming out of the system? So I think the entrepreneurship pathway is also something that needs to be addressed when we're talking about employment, but also making it easier to become an entrepreneur if you are justice impacted as well.
So Michael, can you ask that question again?
Yes. Ultimately, we just wanted to know about you making your business case to organizations or companies that may be resistant to hiring justice impacted.
I hire
For
An albatross around.
To the employer, it's risk, and focus on finding those right now. The short-term answer, the longer-term answer again is what we've been saying is advocacy, it's storytelling, and
held in this church was in 2019. Don't quote me on it. COVID has threw off my timeline. I'm sure you all are messed up too when remembering around 2019 and 2020. But I had an opportunity to attend Justice Day. And the reason I was able to attend is because I had a boss who was very flexible, who didn't feel as if my productivity was limited by me being in the office. He gave me an opportunity to attend this Justice Day. This person was Daniel Stinson, who gave me my first chance after I was arrested for possession of a controlled substance. I thought my life was over until I met Daniel. He gave me my second chance. But funny enough, I came to this event. I mentioned that, you know, hey, I had this struggle and I just wanted to be somebody who helped this community. And I met a lady by the name of Jolie Cooper. She said, I'm going to change your life. Good people deserve to have good jobs and they should be able to create equity as well. You should think about this organization called Center for Employment Opportunities. Ended up becoming a site director, multi-million-dollar budget, able to help hundreds of people. And I did not have any management experience on my resume. I was worried. But there was a man by the name of Robert Stewart who gave me my first opportunity to be a manager for UPS. So now I have management experience on my resume. Justice Day changed my life. So I just want to thank you two for giving me a chance, because y'all have done more for me than you will ever.
to get his shoulder because he